times people ask, why doesn't the person just leave? Why don't they just get out of that situation? And for those who are in this situation, there's a process, there's planning that has to take place. For those of you who are listening that may be in the process of leaving, some of the things that you may need to consider are packing a bag, storing that bag at a friend's house or in a location that the person who's abusing you will not have access to, making sure you have whatever medications you need or your children need, making sure that you have whatever monies that you can collect and save so that when you leave, you'll have something to rely on, making the determination on where you're going, whether it's to a shelter, to a family member's house, to a friend's house. Also taking into consideration the fact that you may need to collect contact numbers. You may need to make a list of what shelters are in your area or in a nearby state or city, as well as lawyers' numbers who deal with domestic violence to make sure you're not in violation of any custody arrangements. These are different tips that you can take before you are leaving your situation. All right, we are going, as you see, we've made a little shift. We have another panelist who will be joining us shortly, so following the next commercial break, this seat will be filled. So right now we're just letting it cool off a little because Rosa had a little hot over there for a little bit, so we're going to let it cool off. All right, each of you have shared your experiences, and I thank you for sharing those personal experiences. And while you were talking, there was a lot of head shaking going on with each of you, and the last person to speak, Mary, as she talked about the process. Many times, and by a show of hands, how many times have you heard people say, why don't they just leave? I don't understand. Why don't they just go? People say it all the time as if you can just pick up and walk out. And so Rosa started to tell us a little bit about the financial pieces. And this is not even considering if there's children involved. And as Mary was talking about the process that takes place and trying to go through the quote-unquote normal process, and as Rosa talked about going through the legal process and how getting stopped, and then you start wanting to take things into your own hands. So I'm going to pick up from that point for each of you to talk about the process. What were some of the challenges? What were some of the benefits? And what are some words of encouragement? What do people need to do to help leave the situations that they're in? Go ahead, Mary.
The part of the process is, I think, acceptance and acknowledgement that this is where you are, and making a clear decision on what next steps that you are prepared to take, and what type of village, if you will, like what type of support systems that you need to help you get from point A through Z, because there's going to be barriers that come in place that stop you from wanting to kind of go through that whole entire quote-unquote process. And then once you've made that acknowledgement and decision, then you can begin to say, okay, I need to go down to 34 South 11th Street and get this protection order and make sure that my case is justifiable, because there are times that the person on the other side doesn't feel that your case is validated or justifiable for a protection order. But then just also recognizing that that is a piece of paper that protects you. You still need the village within your community to kind of support you as well, and being able to have alternative places to stay that maybe the person coming to you is not aware of, to be able to chase you down and track you down in that particular way. But be patient and be diligent and be just kind of transparent and vulnerable, if you will, because it's going to take you through a journey that is not uncomfortable. It's so easy to just say hands up and let me just return. In my particular situation, the relationship was over, but I was trying to maintain a friendship with the individual. And when I decided to move on and be clear with him that I was moving on to a new relationship, is when the light bulb snapped for him in his head, to say that I wasn't available to anyone else. I was only supposed to be available to him. So my situation may be a little bit different, but very similar in a lot of other ways, because again, as I mentioned earlier, I am in Philadelphia separate from my entire family. So that gives them complete control or access to me in that particular way. So my encouragement is just to make sure that you have that village, that you remain diligent, and you may remain vulnerable, to a sense that you allow your friends to know clearly what's going on and clearly what areas you need assistance with, no matter how embarrassing, no matter the question of how did I get here, no matter what the judgment may be, because they may just be your friends for the transitional season to help you get through this moment.
I heard that, and that's so very important, because many times, as Mary said, the first thing is acknowledging where you are. You can spend time in the what happened, how did I get here, and end up staying in that situation even longer than what you intended to. And then also, Rosie, the name of your book is
Abuse Hidden Behind the Badge.
Abuse Hidden Behind the Badge. And so many times people keep abuse hidden, and that's why it continues to go forward. My mother always said, tell, just tell. Tell anybody, tell everybody. Because if you tell, then it will not stay hidden. And so the embarrassment, it's amazing the embarrassment that people feel and how it keeps them from sharing or getting sometimes the help that they need. And we know that there's other feelings and factors in place besides embarrassment. So Rosa, before you speak, I want Janine to speak a little bit about the restraining order process from the police side of things. If you remember, that's going back.
It's been a little minute, but I actually accompanied one of the young women I worked with on Monday to the 16th District to have a police report filed. And this young woman is a civilian, but when she went to the police department with our drug and alcohol counselor, who happened to be walking to our office, and saw her hemmed up in a corner by her abuser with his hand all in her face, and they walked to the 16th District, the officer at the time told her that they could not take the report there at the district, and that she would have to call 911 because they don't dispatch cars from the district. So they came, and when they came in, they told me what was happening, and I said, no, that's not accurate. They don't dispatch cars from the district, but they can get on the radio and they can say 16 operations. Can you have 1610 car take headquarters for a district assignment? Or the person, unless the person is a civilian, can take a police report, because even the civilian in the operations room is surrounded by at least 2 to 3 other police officers at the time that he or she is working in the district. So one thing, before I actually get into the restraining order process, I just want everybody to know, you can make a police report at any district, at any time, about anything, because they are police officers. So you do not have to encounter a police officer in a marked police vehicle. You can go to the district and say, I'd like to make a police report about anything. And if the person tells you that they cannot make a report at that time, you can ask for a supervisor, get the name and the badge number of the person and the supervisor to whom you are speaking. Because if the supervisor tells you the same thing, then you just say, okay, and then your next step is to go to internal affairs, because they are supposed to take a report. To that end, what I would tell anybody who is trying to obtain a restraining order, as soon as you are safe, as soon as you are able to get away, you need to document in a notebook, not on your phone, in a notebook, because if they can access your phone, they can destroy it. You take a piece of paper and a pen and you document all the instances of text messages, all the instances of phone calls, all the instances of where they showed up at your workplace or your residence or your parents' home or the children's school, the daycare, whatever. You document all of that. You then go and you file a police report every time this person is harassing you, every time. And to Dr. Wall's earlier statement about there will be a police officer that will listen to you. You then ask for the process in terms of obtaining that police report. They will give you a form. You complete the form. You send it to City Hall. I believe the fee now is $25. And they will send you a copy of the report in the mail. You then go down to 34 South 11th Street, and in really severe instances, you can go to 1301 Filbert, room B03, which is the Criminal Justice Center, to get an emergency restraining order issued. I would just encourage people to be aware if they encounter a family member or friend who is in the midst of an abusive situation, understand and be compassionate when they say they're not ready to go. because there is a psychological piece to this thing, and they may not be ready right now. So the best thing that you can do for them is employ all of the steps that I just mentioned. You can write down the information for them so that when they are ready to go and have a restraining order drawn up, that they have the information handy.
Thank you very much, Janine. I think that's so important because many times I know when we are trying to help people, we often feel helpless because our thing is, let's get these people away. And so, but to be able to write down the incidents that we're aware of is very helpful because then that gives us an active part in this healing process and in stopping the violence as well. We're going to take a quick commercial break here on Dr. Walls and Friends at A Time to Help, A Time to Heal. And when we come back, this seat will be filled. We'll be back shortly.